Can I be honest for a second? I'm Liv, I'm a Christian. If you don't know me, I visited Israel over 10 times since the age of 15. I'm currently getting my master's in Holocaust and Genocide Studies, and for the last 4 years, I've worked in some capacity for my full-time job in the Israel education advocacy space, okay? This is my career, this is my life. And because I visited Israel so many times, I have a lot of friends there, which means I have a lot of friends in the IDF, which means that I have friends in combat roles and in non-combat roles. And even though I'm not Jewish and I'm not Israeli, I am a Christian Gen Z American. October 7th fundamentally changed me as a human being. And I don't talk about this on the internet. I don't talk about the emotional impact that October 7th had for me, what it was like for me personally after October 7th. But what I will say is, and maybe there's a time for that, I don't know. But what I will say is, I now know what it is like to check a casualty list and feel your heart rate increase because you wonder whether or not your friend's name is going to be on it. I now know what it's like to wait for a text from a friend and truly not know whether or not they're alive or dead. And that has not only changed me as a human being, but it has made me entirely unrelatable to most people in my demographic. What I mean by that is most young Gen Z American Christians have no concept of what that feeling is like. And one thing that's always interesting to me is when I see people come online and record themselves acting so emotionally and putting it on the internet. Now, to be fair, watching images of war unfold on social media is not what our brains are meant to. We're not meant to see that. Like, our brains are not meant to handle that kind of information. Watching these images, seeing these videos should cause that emotional reaction because that's what war is. But it is always so interesting to me to watch people get on the internet and record themselves having these moments and then put it up for the world to see. It is not wrong to look at images of a conflict and feel an emotional response. You should. However, it is interesting to see the way in which emotions have become a weapon of war. Because I'm gonna say it, just because you see images of dead children, as disgusting and frustrating and upsetting as it is, does not automatically make a war unjust. This generation is increasingly confusing an emotional response to seeing a conflict as some type of moral judgment against that conflict. I'm not saying I would never have a debate with somebody who has never been to Israel or who doesn't have friends or family members there, but what I will say is I will automatically take your opinion with a grain of salt until you know what it's like to check a casualty list or to wait for a phone call or to wait for a text message and not know whether or not you're gonna get one. And this is where the advocacy work comes in for me. I've lost friends over this. We all have. If you care about this issue at all, you've lost friends over it. And it's never been of my volition. It's always been the other person saying, I no longer want to be friends with you. That's fine. That's their decision to make. But the reality of the situation is this. These people are crying about it now, but they have short attention spans. The difference between us and them is that I know in 4 or 5 years from now, when they've moved on to another conflict halfway across the globe that they also have no connection to, I will still be here because I care. And the reality is, as much as they think they do, they don't.